help take care of that. If I need to.
Okay.
Yeah. I bet that's Debbie.
Is that Clint? Take it home. He did. Give him an opportunity, beautiful day. Oh, yeah.
Hello, how are y'all doing?
We're well, how are you?
Hey, Debbie.
Good.
And Dr. Boone, can you hear us as well? We could see that you were on, but it did not look like there was any microphone available for you.
Hey, I'm here.
There you go.
Okay.
And Dr. Richmond, can you hear us?
Sir.
All right, looks like we've got 3 more on with 2 here. Dr. Jolly, you want to call us to order?
I do. So it is 3:30, Wednesday, April 3rd. I'd like to call this emergency hearing of the Arkansas State Board of Pharmacy to order. We'll do a real quick roll call here in the offices. We have Dr. Lenora Newsom and myself, and on Zoom, we have Dr. Rodney Richmond, Dr. Debbie Mack, and Dr. Clint Boone. So I'd like to note that we do have a quorum. And with that, I'll turn it over to either Dr. Curley or Ms. Vales.
Real quick, I know Ms. Vales has a presentation. We have a quick emergency hearing. This is regarding a pharmacist. We have just sent a quick order notice to you guys so you can actually see the specific charges with pharmacist identification, drugs involved, and everything else. And with that, I will turn over to Ms. Vales to present what we have in our request for an emergency suspension of the license.
All right. I actually have 2 emergency hearings. The first one is the one you have documentation on. Pharmacist Linda Susan O'Keefe, PD 07106. You should have in front of you a draft of an order of notice of hearing. Dr. O'Keefe has not been served with this yet, but it is a good summation of the facts that we have surmised from our investigation. So just in summary, we received a complaint on March 15, 2024. And the allegation was it came through as Dr. O'Keefe had submitted a prior authorization form through Cover My Meds for a drug that's listed there in paragraph A2. And it was without a valid prescription from her physician. The complainant said that Dr. O'Keefe was filling prescriptions on a regular basis without prescriber authorization. And we pulled records from March 19th, 2022 through March 29th, 2024. And based on those records, Dr. O'Keefe filled prescriptions for herself under Dr. English's name for the drugs listed there. The first drug was 90 tablets, 21 times for a total of 1,890. She also filled another prescription or another fraudulent prescription for the second drug there listed, 270 tablets for a total of 540 tablets. She also filled 1 prescription for that third drug listed in that paragraph, 100 milligrams for 21 tablets. She received a total from March 22nd or March 2022 to March 29, 2024 a total of 2,451 tablets of the drug in the last line there from the prescriber without authorization. And if you'll flip to the next page, it gives you additional allegations. Again, these records are from March 19, 22 to March 29, 2024. She filled prescriptions for herself under Dr. English's name for the drug listed in that second line in paragraph A4, 100 milligrams with a quantity of 30 tablets, 22 times for a total of 660 tablets. In addition, she filled for the second drug in that paragraph, 100 milligrams with a quantity of 90 tablets for a total of 90. And then from, again, March 2022 to March 2024, received a total of 750 of that third listed drug, 100 milligram tablets without prior authorization. And again, it goes on. I can read that, keep reading that for you, or you can review it yourself. The total quantity of all of the medications that she received without prior authorization are also listed there in the document you have in front of you. And we actually had a phone call with Dr. O'Keefe earlier this week, and she had in that phone call basically said that she had been doing this for years. And we were concerned that she had been doing this with her prior interactions with the board. She was under support group contract, and maybe this activity was going on during that time. We're still sort of investigating that. But she has been in front of the board with that support group contract, and she finished that out earlier this year.
She had a 10-year monitoring
Yeah.
contract with us that I believe she finished monitoring in January. I think officially it may have been slightly before that. We have only been able thus far to go back 2 years on this issue. From the complainant is actually the prescriber recorded on most of what you see in front of you. We did request a voluntary suspension of the license. Then we were contacted afterwards that she is represented by counsel, would not, I guess, be agreeing to a voluntary suspension. We are trying to get in touch with counsel, waiting contact back. But with this pattern of, I don't know if it's self-prescribing or if it's forgery or how else to define it, hearing that the prescriber did not authorize this, we felt as staff that the board would most likely want a suspension to pull her out of practice while we see what else is going on before she can come in for a full hearing.
The
So did I
doctor
understand
currently-
what you just said, that you're not sure if these prescriptions were written for herself or for someone else?
We believe this was all for herself.
Okay.
We
And
asked if
Dr.
she was
Curtin?
doing it for others, and she said no.
Well, what did she say why she's doing it? I mean, she admitted that I do it all the time, but why?
She basically said, I won't do it again. She didn't really have a good explanation of why she'd been doing it.
She said she's been doing this for 41 years.
And did we hear this from the doctor? How did we come upon this?
The prescriber's office, it appears, got a request for a prior authorization for a medication that they had not prescribed for her. And upon review, it appears they found out that there were many other prescriptions that she had filled for herself or had filled for herself, and they have not seen her in several years. So they basically let us know they have not approved any of these medications that are attributed to that prescriber or in their clinic, and yet there's pages of them.
Initially, the first call came from the gentleman that received the PA and said they contacted the doctor to get information, and were told that the doctor had not written and requested that this patient be on this medication. And then at that point, they followed up with some other prescriptions that had been filed on her insurance, talked to the doctor, and the doctor said he'd not written those. So then they reported it to the board. We contacted the doctor, and the doctor turned around and talked with us about the lack of, he's not seen the patient since 2020. So he's not written any of these prescriptions.
What were we able to use to get the data around all the drugs and the quantities?
We actually, we've had inspectors go twice to the pharmacy, one to pull a profile and then one to pull actual hard copy prescriptions to ensure that there were no hard copy prescriptions. These appear to all have been recorded as phone-in prescriptions by this pharmacist.
All to the same pharmacy?
Yes.
Where she worked.
Yeah, this is where she works.
That was my second question. Does she work here herself? Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, many of the prescriptions have attribution to someone calling them in, but what we're told is that the prescriber has not approved them.
Does
No
the second-
controls.
It looks like there's two prescribers, one that's got the majority of them and the other has just a couple. Is the other prescriber, we obligated to inform
We've
that
already
prescriber?
spoken with the other prescriber is no longer practicing in the office in the town where she is. But the office manager there has contacted that prescriber and he said he did not write them. He does not know her as a patient.
Okay, thank you.
These are the prescriptions that our understanding is are not valid.
And we're still sort of parsing this out. I'll get more information from the physicians' affidavits or things like that, so we know for sure. But that is our initial information, and of course, one of them is a complainant. So.
Okay. And the defendant in this matter didn't make any claims that this is the wrong physician. It was really, I mean, the pharmacist admitted that they had been doing this for
Said the
years.
physician told him just get whatever you need as long as it's not controlled.
Okay,
She said the doctor told her that
Yes,
years ago.
apparently.
okay. Any other questions or comments? Board members? So I guess we'd be looking for a motion for a
Emergency suspension.
emergency suspension pending an upcoming hearing.
Yeah, so I had sent her a voluntary surrender after the phone call. She had hired an attorney. The attorney wrote me a letter and said that they want a hearing. That's what we're doing today. Then they would have the right, if the board votes to suspend her license, to have a hearing within a short time frame. I think it's 14 days. If they choose to do an expedited hearing, we'd have to reconvene and hear the entire case. If not, we'd probably get her in June. There'll be a lot of records and things to be presented. So we're going to try to take care of this as soon as possible.
So when we called her, what option did she have to either surrender herself or let us surrender her?
This goes along the lines of my usual conversations in these issues. We explain what we have, ask some questions, which very quickly led me to request an emergency suspension. And it's one of those things where, I said, we will email this to you so you can look at it. Let us know any questions you have. But if we don't, and this was Monday was the call, if we don't have it generally by the next day, a decision that you're going to accept that, then we will call for an emergency hearing during our informals, which we scheduled for this afternoon. So.
And the only difference between the voluntary surrender, she wouldn't have to admit any wrongdoing at this point.
Yeah.
But she did not choose that option. And then I got a letter from her attorney later that day.
Other questions? Discussion? If not, I'll go ahead. Okay, Dr. Newsom has a motion.
I'd like to make a motion in the matter of, Linda Susan O'Keefe, PD number 07106, that we have an emergency suspension of her license.
Okay, so we have a motion. We'd be looking for a second.
Second.
We have a second by Dr. Richmond. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
I have one more hearing. This one involves a technician. We received notice on March 26th from the pharmacist at the Mountain Home Walgreens that Jackie Lee Pavlicek, ET 17264, was working in the pharmacy as a technician under the influence of what they suspected was marijuana. She had slurred speech, droopy eyes, sluggish behavior while she was performing her job duties. They questioned whether or not she was under the influence. She denied that she was, but she agreed to take a drug screen at MedExpress. And she did submit that, and the results came back later that day and were being reviewed by a medical review officer, but the results were positive for marijuana, hydromorphone, hydrocodone, and alprazolam. She was terminated from Walgreens at that point. They are doing inventory and making sure there's not any diverted medications from the pharmacy, but we don't have word back on that result yet.
Okay. Any questions? Any discussion? Okay, so similar to the last, or are we looking for a emergency suspension?
Yeah, she has had 5 days and to respond to the voluntary surrender, and I have not heard anything. So we have noticed her in plenty of time to pursue the emergency hearing.
Okay.
Do we think she got terminated from Walgreens, so she's not there, but we don't know where she might be?
Correct.
Well, what I did as far as notice, I sent it to the last known address we had in our records, and I also sent it to her email address. Usually I get a pretty quick response from the email, but I don't have anything yet. So as far as like legally, we've given her enough notice and time and at her last known address. So we are good to pursue emergency suspension if that's the board's wish.
Yeah, I just wondered if we know she's working anywhere, but we don't, because she.
No, we don't. We don't have any information that she's working anywhere else.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I'll make the motion that we suspend her technician license.
Okay, we have a motion by Dr. Mack.
I'll second it.
We have a second by Dr. Newsom. There's not any further discussion. We'll go ahead and take a vote. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
That's all we have. Thank you guys for getting on with us briefly, and we will see you next time.
Thank you all.
Hey.